So I was on a walk today, and what came through into my consciousness was this concept of ascended leadership and integrity and excellence and sovereignty and embodiment of what it means to be in spiritual excellence. And this doesn't mean perfection of any kind. It really just means the desire to use your own energy, your vibration, your frequency to help shift the collective and humanity, and through the daily actions that you do and the way that you show up, and how even as leaders in a corporate field or in a creative field or something that is not directly connected to spirituality, how you can use your own embodiment of energy and frequency, and unity consciousness to spread more awareness of how others can show up in the same way. So it was a moment of realization of where that shift happened internally for me first, where I was moving through this iteration of my childhood, an embodiment of the divine child, of being in this flow of this creativity, wanting to try and experiment, and that desire to ascend higher and higher, reaching greater depths of consciousness, trying to understand what it means to utilize all of the gifts that I have, and then coming back down to the 3D world and understanding the practical implementation of where I can be better, where I can do better, where I can show up as a more mature version of myself, and how to weave this in through practical daily implementations, and also recognizing that separation of where there's always that duality, like what is this moment trying to teach me, and not having the judgment attached to that, and having this realization that not everything needs to look a certain way, that not everything needs to be a certain way in order for you to make that impact, that the moment you shift, right there, I feel like there's so much judgment in the way that you are in this very moment. If you are experiencing a breakdown, if you are sitting in confusion, if things don't make sense, to come back into the remembrance of who you are, your divinity, and to ask yourself what this moment is teaching you and how this can serve the greater good of humanity. And then as soon as the lesson integrates, as soon as the energy integrates, you'll realize the internal transformation is all it takes for you to show up differently. You don't need to justify what you experienced. You don't need to over explain yourself. You don't need to actually put a timeline on how this unfolding is happening, because all you're doing is prolonging the transformation. You can actually accept the transformation has happened and has shifted right now, and to step into this new identity right now, and to not hold that judgment of the past, because when you hold the judgment of the past and you're replaying that scenario, you are just recreating this in your current reality. And I'll give an example of how for the last few months it's really the expansion, the desire of expansion into higher unity consciousness, and this realization of my bigger mission, my bigger purpose, coming back down into the earth plane, realizing that part of my purpose is here. My purpose is here with my family, to be with my family, to be present in my relationships. And how do I nurture my business in a way that is sustainable? And so sustainability has been a conversation that I've had to have with myself, of how I was once moving through the world and how that has evolved and transformed, and how there was so many attachments and limiting beliefs on how that was going to unfold. Whereas giving myself the time and the grace and the ability to really nurture myself, there was a moment where I came back to me and I just asked my guys, I said, what the heck am I doing? And they said, give yourself grace, because and I just, in that moment, I closed my eyes, and the scene that flashed before me was really the inner child that came up, and the nurturance that I gave to the inner child, and the feeling of the emotion and the release of the emotion. And then also being in the moment where all of the fear started to come up, all of the doubt started to come up. And it's not bypassing. I used to do this a lot, where I would try to distract myself, right? But being present with the emotion and letting myself alchemize and integrate these emotions, and being okay with not taking action, and sitting with that. So there's a moment of slowing down to speed up. There's a moment of slowing down, going within to get clarity before you speed up, and you birth this new vision of who you are. So when I had my walk today, and I had this download of what it means to be an ascended leader, it's embodiment of the excellence of the journey of self-love, of what it means to expand, and also what it means to bring this down into the present world, and how you can use your own transformation, your own understanding, your own expansion to impact the people around you without forcing the timeline, right? Without forcing the timeline, and allowing that to naturally unfold, and not lean into the scarcity of things not happening the way that you want and the way that you expect, and seeing that transformation first within, and that instantaneous shift, and how that can happen on a higher level.